Welcome to Media Types with me, Robert Shepherd. In this episode, I'm joined by TV executive Stephen D. Wright. He's here to talk about his favourite and least favourite things on television. Warning, this episode contains strong language. And back, due to popular demand, Stephen D. Wright. How are you, sir?
Good, very good. Very glad that, popular acclaim has dragged me back onto this sordid podcast.
Well, I've never had so many lovely messages about someone's appearance on the podcast. One person said, "Can we get him out for a beer?"
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I'm available anytime, free beer.
And we're now back to talk about telly again, but telly in a different way. So last time we spoke about the industry. This time we're talking about your favorite and least favorite shows on TV. They're current or recent. So do you want to start with the good, or do you want to start with the bad and the ugly?
Definitely start with the bad. You've got so much more to talk about then, and it'll get my kind of passions roused. So that's the best way to do it.
Let's go.
So the worst thing recently was about 2 weeks ago. The worst thing I've seen, absolutely appalling TV, was the anniversary specials for The Office. I don't know if you saw them. There was one BBC Two version, which had Mackenzie Crook and Martin Freeman sitting in a studio talking about them. It was Remembers The Office. But then exactly the same time, because it was 20 years to the day 2 weeks ago, that The Office was first transmitted, and missing from the BBC Two version was Ricky Gervais's version of the best of The Office, where he sat in a studio and talked about The Office as well. I'm a fan of The Office. I used to sit in the same office at the BBC at TV Centre with Asha Tal, who became the producer of The Office. And so I remember it all from that kind of time. And it was just such a badly made pair of shows. The BBC Two version was a bit lovey-dovey. It was a bit like, oh, what did you remember? What do I remember this? And da-da-da-da-da, and all the rest of it. And it was like, fuck's sake. And then that was bad enough. It was like no context, no analysis, no nothing.
Yeah.
It didn't have any talking heads. It was very, very sort of two actors talking in a very sort of slightly wanky way, which was okay. However, the Ricky Gervais show, which was obviously done as a kind of, I'm not going to appear on the BBC, so I'll do my own version, was even worse. Him just sat there. He talked about what happened in every sketch before we saw it. So he'd already talked about it. He then talked about it after the sketch, which you just seen it. Again, no analysis. And the most bizarre thing of all, which was really just, mind-blowing, never mentioned a single other person. It was all him. He never mentioned the co-creator, Stephen Merchant. He never talked about anybody. He never talked about the producers. Never talked about anything at all. Any of the other actors, even. It might sound like I'm being too harsh, but you should watch it. It is phenomenally narcissistic and also shallow as fuck. And that's the weird part. There was no, 20 years. The Office changed TV. It changed sitcom culture. It changed a lot of things. One of the things was it brought in the mockumentary format in a massive way. It might not have been the first mockumentary ever done, but it certainly changed everything post The Office. Because of that, we had the Modern Family, for example, ran for 10 bloody seasons in America. Exactly the same format. Then there's all the American versions and the foreign version. There was none of that. None of it was mentioned. None of it was talked about. Ricky just talked about how good he was in every scene and how he laughed and you're like, it could have been done 20 years ago. There was no sense of this was an important program. So the whole raison d'etre of the shows being celebrated didn't make sense. The clips were great, but you could have just put the clips on with a voiceover. You know what I mean? It was such a badly made show, considering how much cultural context and importance and analysis you could have got without ruining him. You don't take the jokes out or anything, but you could have explained a lot more. But Ricky refusing to do the BBC Two version seemed like sour grapes, and then doing a very sort of shoddy, shot in half an hour type show himself, just appalling, absolutely appalling. So that's my number one shit program.
Hang on, if you had to make one change to that, what would you have done?
I would have pushed the two of them together. So to have Ricky in the other one, but I would have added talking heads and some semblance of cultural context. You know what I mean? Some analysis, not tons, but enough just to give it an actual raison d'etre. Because just seeing clips 20 years on, meaningless. the problem with actors aren't as interesting as we think they are when they're being lovies. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
but it was quite funny because there's a little bit where Martin Freeman sort of says in with Mackenzie Crook, "Oh well, I was a little bit annoyed that the scripts seemed to be just verbatim what was in the show. There was a lot of improvisation, and what he's basically saying is he did quite a lot of improvisation himself, came up with some funny lines, but that's never credited. And of course, because Ricky, even 20 years on, doesn't credit a single person, you can see there's obviously more to this than meets the eye. So it's all there. BBC Two, iPlayer, and on YouTube. You can see it right now. Awful.
That surprises me because he's usually quite good about bigging up other people. So
Well, for some reason, he'd taken a kind of a hit of extra strong narcissism because he doesn't mention anyone, not even Stephen Merchant, who he co-wrote the scripts with.
okay.
Not a single word. I mean, it's just literally never says we thought this. It's I all the way through, which is very unusual.
Yeah. Okay. Show number
But
2.
show number 2, well, it was a classic 20 odd years ago, or no, longer actually, 96, Our Friends in the North
Okay.
by Peter Flannery, which at the time in 96 was hailed as the greatest TV drama ever. And one of the things that, of course, everybody sort of remembers, it was all about 4 friends in Newcastle from like the early 60s right through to the sort of 2000s. And the casting was obviously amazing. Gina McKee, um, Mark Strong, uh, Daniel Craig, who played Bond later on, Christopher Eccleston.
Okay.
And every single person in it, all the supporting actors, are all legendary actors. So this is amazing drama. And then I started rewatching it the other day and it was like, fuck's sake, it's awful. And it's like, how can it be awful? But it's such a weird phenomenon because you're watching it and you're thinking, it feels really hammy,
Yeah.
very, very stagey. I mean, obviously it had been written by a playwright and it had taken years and years to get to the screen. And so it just felt old fashioned and over the top. I mean, very worthy, very kind of, on the nose, as they say, script writing. And it was just like, hang on, why did we fall for this in 96? Whereas now, 30 years on, you don't look at it and go, oh my God, which is a really rare thing in TV. It's often when you watch an old program, you're amazed at how incredibly timeless, powerful, etc. Most things on telly don't date because
Yeah.
they're really of the moment. But this just felt old hat and a bit worthy. And Christopher Eccleston just whining on essentially in every scene. Very surprising how bad it was. When you look at the sort of current crop of dramas, they're so much lighter, more sort of naturalistic, etc. One of the best ones I'm going to talk about in a moment is such a comparison. It's chalk and cheese. And yet this was the greatest drama of the 90s. I mean, that's the thing. It has this legendary reputation that still runs to this day, except I don't think anyone's seen it for a while. And if they do watch it, they'll be a bit like, oh, oh God. So it's a really surprisingly shit program.
Okay. Number 3.
Number 3, one of the worst celebrity interviews I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of them. I've taken part in a lot of them, which was to commemorate the release of Confessions 2, Madonna and Graham, the big BBC special we saw a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
which was cringe-tastic from the moment it started. He turns up at the Camden Palace because apparently that's where she performed 40 years ago now. And he turns up, he's been styled by some young gay stylist to wear clown pants, a ridiculous sort of flowery jacket and whatever. So he looks stupid from the word go, Graham. Plus he's shitting his pants and you can see it on camera. And she's a miserable cow from the start to the finish. Now, this is supposedly Graham and Madonna are like BFFs and they hang out, they've done stuff. No, she's in a bad mood from the word go.
Yeah.
And this is a free advert for her show, for her record. And Graham is sort of a schoolboy, and she doesn't laugh. She doesn't smile. Face is frozen. She's bad tempered. This is one of these shows that's so bad it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need to watch it as a masterclass in how not to do celebrity interviews. Just one of the worst things ever.
Always been like that though, hasn't she always been?
She's always been a pain in the arse, definitely. I mean, I remember meeting her years and years ago, and she was grumpy then. And And I think she thinks that it's a bit like Posh Spice never smiling. You know what I mean? It's like a gimmick. And Posh Spice never smiled because apparently somebody said her face looked bad when she smiled. So she never smiled ever again. And then it sort of becomes a trademark, whatever. Or Anna Wintour with the black sunglasses. This is sort of seems to be Madonna being cool. I'm not going to react. I'm going to be above it. It's like, no, you're coming across as a pain in the arse
Oh
and a
dear.
humorless person, which in Britain is a capital crime. To be that famous, to be that indulged, and still to be humorless is
Yeah.
awful. And Graham Norton, poor sod, he is trying hard. He is desperately trying. One of the weirdest scenes, right in the middle of the whole thing, the stage of the Camden Palace. They're sitting in a sort of a dressing room or a studio. Then they move to a bar, and someone's about to serve them with a drink, and it turns around and it's Kylie Minogue, and you go, oh. Feels very random. Kylie, meanwhile, looks like a young girl. She's all bubbly and effervescent. Madonna's sat there like a sourpuss. There's this weird scripted comedy sort of skit. And you're like, the fuck is this? It's appalling. It's so bad.
I saw a
Possibly the
headline.
worst celebrity interview I've ever seen. I mean, that's how bad it is.
Wow. I saw a recent headline where Madonna said, I was jealous of Kylie Minogue. Is that where it's from?
It might be in there, but again, I don't think there was any of that kind of analysis in any of it. What she's doing is she's obviously getting all the younger cool people in
Yeah.
to hitch her wagon to. So she's got Sabrina Carpenter. Kylie supposedly is on one of the tracks, but it's just such a weird crowbarred into the show. And and Kylie's so fun and so kind of joyful that it makes everything else look dead. It's a very weird scene.
So,
I've got one more.
oh, we're going for four, are we?
Oh yeah, there's so many crap shows on at the moment.
Oh,
The
God.
other one is a show that I watch every week, and I hate it, and I hate myself for watching it. And it's the American remake of Doc Martin called Best Medicine,
Right.
because he's now called Martin Best, Doctor Best, so Best Medicine, and it is even worse than the English version, which I watched all fucking 10 series of. It's one of the worst shows ever, but somehow it has a soporific effect. When you're sort of sitting there, you go, I can't be bothered with this, and I don't want to that, and I don't want to start a 22 series arc, or I don't want to do this. And you turn it on and you go, no, and you sort of sleep for 45 minutes. And this American version is appalling. And the gimmick is, of course, is that Dr. Martin is a brilliant surgeon who has had a kind of neck breakdown, has a blood phobia, and goes back to his sort of childhood haunt and becomes a kind of small town doctor. But in Cornwall, which was the British version, yeah, fair enough. This one is like they've reduced the IQ of everyone in the village to sort of morons. He has an assistant who is absolute rubbish. No one's ever there for an appointment. You can just walk in anytime you want and go straight in to see the doctor. I mean, there's never any queuing. And every single time he's proved right, even though the whole town turns against him. So there's the same plot every single week. Every single week.
It's not like the NHS where you can't get an appointment.
They occasionally make a reference to making an appointment, but the room's empty because, of course, they're doing all these ridiculous scenes where people walk in and say stupid things. It's like
Yeah.
there's never a queue. It's appallingly bad. It's so bad.
Why'd you do it to yourself?
I don't know. I think I'm some sort of masochist, you know? I watched the first one, the American remake, and I thought, oh my God, this is shit. And then, of course, the following week, I'm like, oh, I'll just watch the second one. And then somehow I start watching them all again. It's like, I don't know. There is a thing in TV that bad doesn't necessarily mean unwatchable. You know what I mean? The Madonna and Graham, you've got to watch it. Our Friends of the North, I'll never watch that again. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
it's so bad. And then The Office, oh, that was actually painful. This one it's a bit like eating sort of a sandwich has gone past its sell by date. You can put it in your mouth. You're going to get diarrhea later, but it'll do for the moment. That's
Yeah.
Doc Martin, or sorry, Best Medicine. There you
Okay.
go.
And of those four, which goes in the bin?
Oh, fuck. Can we not put all four in? I mean,
Of course you
Christ
can.
almighty.
Okay, which goes in first then?
Well, probably Madonna and Graham, because it's just so bad. It's
Yeah.
just awful. Awful.
Okay. Now let's move on to the good.
The good, yes. Well, there are good TV shows. People think I just slag TV all the time, but I don't. I still love it. And one of the terrible things about TV is how much TV is mediocre. That's why a really shit program can be good fun.
Sure.
A lot of TV is very meh, as the kids say. You watch things and Netflix is full of stuff now when you just go, what was this? Oh, no. and it's like it's dreary, and you can see the kind of wastage on screen where they've spent a lot of money, but they haven't actually improved the script, or they haven't quite tinkered enough to make it good. And then very rarely these days, we used to get them all the time, but very rarely these days, you then get these masterpieces, shows that you watch and they make you full of joy, you know.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things when I watch a good show, I feel energized, I feel reborn. I mean, it's genuinely sort of life changing for me when I watch a good show. And of the moment, the best show, easily the best show, is The Pit. Now, have you seen
Okay.
that on HBO Max?
I know
Uh,
of it. No.
So people have been talking about it for the last 3 years and constantly saying to me, "Have you seen Pit yet? Have you seen Pit?" I said, "Well, it's not showing on any of the platforms in England." And I didn't want to watch it illegally. I thought, "I'll just wait. It'll come out, you know." And anyway, it finally did a few months ago. And there's 2 seasons have been done now. It was garnered with Emmys the first time. It's up for, I think, 25 Emmys this time for season 2. And basically, like the 24, if you remember 24, the thriller, each
Yes.
episode is 1 hour. So this is all set in the A&E, the ER room of the Pittsburgh General Hospital, the Pit. And so it starts at 7 a.m. with the night shift finishing and the day shift starting. Episode 1 is 7 till 8, episode 2, 8 till 9. It's very, very simple. It just follows every story. And of course, because it's fast moving, we don't really get backstories of the people. You don't really know that much about the various doctors and interns and whoever's. You don't really know that much about the people who are coming in as patients, and they're coming in all the time, you know. Unlike Dr. Best in Best Medicine, this has a waiting room that's overflowing with people that never seems to go down. And then as each episode goes along, you see little bits, little sort of nascent stories will start. Someone who's okay will die 4 hours later, you know, but you don't see it coming, etc. And so they weave it together so brilliantly, and it always ends on a cliffhanger. And then, of course, you wait for the next one. You're like, oh my god! So right now, you can binge them all, which is a kind of hallucinogenic experience to watch
Yeah.
it all in one go. But I did that with season 1, and then season 2, I had to wait week by week, and it's a horrendous thing to wait because you're on a high level of stress watching it because it's life or death, literally. You know, not all the time. Most of the time, it's sort of silly things or you know this, that, and the other, and then suddenly there'll be something that'll just throw everything up in the air. But it is so good. It's literally the best drama I've seen of recent times. It makes Casualty look like Carry On Nurse. I mean, it really does. I saw a clip of Casualty the other day. It seemed like they were, you know, teenagers acting. It was so appalling compared to The Pit. The Pit has this incredible vivacity and realism. I mean, I can't stress it enough. It's brilliant.
I seem to remember you mentioning it previously when you came on the podcast, actually. Um, Casualty, I didn't know it was still going. Was it whole no, it was Holby
Casualty's
City
still
that went.
going, yeah.
Yeah.
Holby City and Casualty are 2 different things, although supposedly set in the same hospital.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Casualty is still going. It's what, 30 odd years or 40 years or something. It's ridiculous. But it's just that thing when you see I get bored with legal dramas,
Yeah.
cop dramas, medical dramas, but this feels like completely fresh. It completely you understand why dramatists want to do it because you can tell any story. You know, and one of the things the Pit does brilliantly is it also shows the reality of being poor in America, of not having medical insurance. One scene which is very powerful, they bring in a woman who's all sort of wrapped up, but that she's arrested. So the police often bring people in who have been beaten up or damaged, and of course they have to be treated.
Yeah.
This one is these 2 guys come in, you suddenly realize they're ICE agents,
Oh,
so immigration. And so there's a kind of frisson of fear immediately goes through the ER department. And there's a fantastically clever scene where we cuts to the receptionist who's on the outside where these hundreds of thousands of people who are coming in waiting, you know, all covered in bruises and blood in them. And she looks up and she's calling people and no one's responding. And then she suddenly realizes that 30 odd people have left. And they've left because the rumor is ICE is in the building. And
right.
you go, aha, and you know, so it's very subtle, all there, and you just get this kind of, you know, the reality of what it's like to be in America and sick.
Yeah.
I mean, horrendous. You know, the people who come in and they're being treated and they go, how much is that going to cost? Which to anybody in the UK is just it's such a sort of indecipherable, unknown quantity.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, oh well, can I not have that because I can't afford that and I can't do this and I've got to go back to work and I mean, there's this incredible realism that really says something about modern America. I mean, it's just so good. It's so good.
Right. I'll have to get onto that
Oh, yeah.
ASAP. What
HBO
is
Max.
HBO Max? What's number two?
Number two, completely crazy, almost insanely stupid, but great TV at the same time, is Netflix. A Korean show, not Squid Game or anything like that, but it's it's almost as mad as Squid Game, actually. It's called Teach You a Lesson, and it's this weird sort of action comedy drama about this sort of renegade political unit set up by the education minister in the Korean parliament to send in ex-military people to beat up kids who are bullies in schools. Now, that is what it's about. And to see grown men punching kids is fantastically entertaining. I mean, you virtually cheer every time a bully gets punched in the face. The great scene in episode 1 where somebody goes, "You can't hit me, I'm a child," and the guy goes, "Really?" Bang. And it's like knocks him out. And of course he has a carte blanche apparently in the drama to be able to do anything. There's no way you can have any retribution against this department. And so episode 1 is like just classic bullies. Episode 2 is violent gangs. Episode 3 is girls bullying each other
Right.
with like one of them's like an influencer. Episode 4 is teachers being bullied by overpossessive parents. So week by week it changes. Oh, you also have like professional cheats. You know what I mean? And sort of snobby academic elites and things. And weirdly, there is a reality to this, even though it seems mad. The Korean government, or Korean culture, I should say, has a problem with bullying. And so this show, which has become a massive hit in America, in Korea, and quite big in the world anyway, Teach You a Lesson, is crazy and mad and funny, but it's also got some sort of real world application to it. And of course, the idea, you just wish that this could happen in England. Someone could just go in and wipe the floor with some cheeky young teen.
I love Korean films and
Mm.
TV. They're so
Well,
clever.
it's
They're
yeah, I mean, but
often
it's
based on real life events, aren't they?
that's the thing, and it's very heightened, but it's all real. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed it. I watched 5 episodes sort of back to back, just straight away. And I don't think anybody's watching it. I mean, I watch a lot of that type of telly. Most people are like, "What is that?" I watch a lot of foreign TV because you can often find real classics there,
Yeah.
and
Agreed.
definitely Teach You a Lesson is one of them.
Right. I'm on that. And number three.
Number 3 was a show that came out. I thought it was genius from start to finish, and almost nobody sort of talked about it, on Amazon Prime, and it's called Bait. And it's starring Riz Ahmed. Now, Riz Ahmed is
Yes.
a very good young actor, young Asian actor, who did, I think was it Happened One Night or something like that, a great drama in America that put him onto the sort of map. And he's playing a sort of autobiographical version of himself. It's a comedy, but it's a clever comedy. So it starts off with him potentially going up for the James Bond role.
Right.
And so he's like, "Oh my God, I could be James Bond." But then at the same time, we get his really dysfunctional Asian family, Muslim Pakistanis, and the whole sort of, what's going on with the sort of Asian acting elite and whatever in Britain. And you get all the other great actors are turning. It's so, so clever. And he's brilliantly funny in it, but it's also weirdly a spy sort of drama as well. They actually bring in a bit of like James Bond-esque type stuff.
Yeah.
Very, very clever, very original. Uh, Everybody in it is genius. I mean, there's so many jokes, because you get jokes about him being a po-faced actor. You get jokes about being an Asian son. You get jokes about Muslims versus whatever. It's like, everything's in there. I finished probably about a month ago. An amazing show. And to me, that like should be win BAFTAs. It was such a good show. And I don't
Wow.
think people know about it.
Wowzers.
Mm.
That's some promotion.
Bait on Prime Video. Yes.
Fantastic. Of the three, I'm guessing Pitt.
The Pit can't be beaten, but again, probably Bait is just as good. Do you know what I mean? I mean, considering the sort of level of originality and the lack of budget,
Mm.
compared to the Pit, the Pit has 100 people in every shot all the time, never stops. I mean, that feels like you are really in there. It feels like a documentary rather than a drama. Whereas Bait was just such an amazing. By the way, it's written by Riz Ahmed as well. He
Yes.
created it and he wrote. He didn't write all of it, but he wrote most of it. But that is like a cultural landmark, in terms of Asian comedy, whatever. I mean, it's just so good, brilliant, in fact.
You had four awful ones. You've had
Yeah.
3. Do you wanna balance it out, or are you happy with 3?
I mean, the problem is the good ones come every so often,
Yeah.
whereas the bad ones are like buses. There's 3 at a time. I mean, they're hard to find, and of course, the problem now is because of streaming, it's not like, "Oh, it's on Monday night." These are shows that will come out, no one will see them, and they stay fresh for a year or something, and then somebody will sort of, come across it. I remember years and years ago, I put a thing on Facebook about, the TV was shit, and could anyone recommend anything? This was about 7 or 8 years ago, I think. And a friend of mine who's French went, "Well, there's a new show called Call My Agent." So I watched that, and
What
fucking
a
hell.
series that was.
And that now nobody had ever heard of it. So I started like a one-man band about going, "This is amazing." And then slowly the word of mouth started, and then it
Yeah,
became this kind of ginormous hit. But if it hadn't been for my friend initially, I would never have found it,
yeah.
But
That's one of the best
no,
series I've ever seen.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the funniest comedies ever. I mean, to me, the best drama ever is also a French series, and that's Le Bureau. I don't know if you know that. It's been remade on
Yes.
on Netflix at the moment. Le Bureau des Étoiles, which is all about spies.
Yeah,
And it is one of the tensest shows I've ever seen. And every single episode, you're biting your fingernails down, you're staring at the screen. It's incredible. It's
yeah,
absolutely incredible. For nearly 5 seasons, it's one of the best shows ever. And then in the final 2 episodes, they change the director. It goes right to shit straight away.
oh dear.
It's astonishing. Like The Sopranos did in the last episode, where you can tell they just gave up. You know what I mean? And Call My Agent also did the same thing. Call My Agent was brilliant, and then suddenly in the last season it just went, and it's like, what the fuck happened? And there's some weird phenomenon where the creator, whatever, goes, "Oh, I'll let you do this." So, for example, in The Bureau, they changed shooting style. It becomes hallucinogenic and dreamlike.
Yeah,
What the fuck? It's such a weird thing, but because TV's so hard to do well, and the people who make it are, like that all the time. Um, and when you get these shows and they go, "Oh, well, that's it, finished," and they go, "Well, we'll just relax." And of course, the quality just slips. It's
yeah.
astonishing.
Did you see the British version of Call My Agent?
I watched 2 episodes and had to switch it off.
Yeah, you
I
watched more
hated
than
it.
I did. I watched
And
about 2
then
minutes.
the other day, I noticed this Call My Agent Berlin. So I
Right.
started watching that thinking, "Well, will this be any good as well?" It's sort of okay, but I didn't recognize a single actor. So that kind of took away a little bit, because the French version, I knew a lot of the French actors, but the German version, obviously, they're doing almost exactly the same. It's better than the English version, let's put it that way.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, the French version is one of the greatest shows of all time, I think,
I agree.
Call My Agent.
So
Um, because of the way the streamers are now, we've got sort of so much to wade through. And I constantly recommend shows. Murderbot on Apple TV, for example, genius to show. No one's ever heard of it. No one's watched it, and it's like, and I'm talking to people who work in TV. You know what I mean? There are so many great shows, um, but people can't find them. It's very, very difficult to work your way through the algorithm. And I think right now, one of the things I was thinking about is Netflix has got worse. One of the sort of tragedies of my life is that Netflix is not as good as it used to be. There are a lot of shows you just think, really? Is this as good as it gets? The really big sort of epic shows, they don't do them very often now. They cancel a lot of shows when they do work, and they got rid of them. Netflix has got very kind of very safe and samey, and yet that has killed off everything else. And so if
yeah,
Netflix then becomes shit, everything's shit.
I think all these shows are gonna see a massive spike in viewership now,
I
thanks
hope
to
so.
your huge fan base.
I'm constantly banging the drum, but whether people watch it, I mean, people do occasionally say, "Oh, thanks for recommending such and such."
Yeah.
And of course, it's like I do this sort of unpaid public service where I wade through the shit to try and find that tiny nugget of gold. You know, I should be up for
Fantastic.
a Pride of Britain award, or some sort of lifetime achievement at the BAFTA.
You should. You should certainly be making your own shows.
Hmm.
Yeah. And what are you up to now?
Very little. Basically, I'm about to start a podcast called The Truth
Hey.
About TV. So it's basically talking about TV from a very honest perspective, because most critics of TV, most journalists about TV, are very, very guarding in what they say. There's very much a sort of, if you're in the gang, don't rock the boat kind of element. And so, for example, TV critics very rarely slag something off. Some of them do, but most of them will go, "Oh, yeah." And that difference between a preview review and a review review, are astonishing.
Yeah.
So you see things like, oh, the BBC gets together with Madonna, and you're like, what? And then you see that 2 weeks later, somebody goes, yeah, that wasn't that good. You're like, could you not have said that at the beginning? You know what I mean? There's very little talk about that. Or Ricky Gervais, for example. I mean, he should have been slated for that, offering up a pile of reheated shite. You know, there you go. That should have said it underneath, a pile of reheated shite, Stephen D. Wright. That would have been the critics' sort of, the tagline.
Reheated shite.
Yeah, wait till you
Stephen
see
D.
it,
Wright.
Robert.
Fantastic. And on that cheery note, thank you very much for your time.
Okay.